Hello and welcome to neonmushroom. It's me, your boy, Trigger. Thank you for coming for another EDH gameplay video. This one did not take me a whole week to do. In fact, this one only took me half a day. It only took me half a day because Adrian dug into his vault. He dug into Limdal's vault, I guess, and he found this, and it's neat. I hope you enjoy it. As a reminder, for the month of November, we do things, so comment down below your thoughts and concerns about, the editing style, or the voice, or the character, or the overlay, whatever you want. But do bear in mind that if you're thinking to yourself, gee, jolly whiz, this channel sure does put up a lot of videos really quickly, unlike the other channels, and I don't know how they do it. The way you do it is by chaining your friend to his basement and making him edit videos forever. Send help. For today's episode, we have Chris running his Lazav, the Multifarious deck. His opening hand includes a Swamp, Soul Ring, Buried Alive, Glen Elendra Archmage, Mystic Remora, Trick Bind, and a Force of Will. After that, we have Adrian rocking Nicol Bolas, the Ravager again. His opening hand includes a Cascade Bluffs, Blood Crypt, Nightscape Familiar, Ancient Tomb, Counterspell, Animate Dead, and Chrome Mox. Next, we have Ajdin once again rocking Lord Windgrace. His opening hand includes an Abrupt Decay, Realms Uncharted, Bloodstained Mire, Arid Mesa, Twilight Mire, Rootbound Crag, and a Dragon Skull Summit. And then finally, we have Kyle's Queen Marchesa deck. His opening hand includes a Swamp, Mountain, Command Tower, Vault of the Archangel, Rogue's Passage, Swamp, and an Innocent Blood. Round 1, Chris won the die roll, so after he draws, he'll open the game with a Swamp, followed by a Soul Ring. After that, Adrian will shock in a Blood Crypt, play Chrome Mox, imprinting a Counterspell underneath it, and then cast Nightscape Familiar. On Ajdin's turn, he'll drop an Arid Mesa, and then on Kyle's turn, he'll drop a Command Tower. Chris will untap, draw, then drop an island. He'll first cast a Mystic Remora, and then cast a Buried Alive, searching his library for a Pilaf Hala, Necrotic Ooze, and Palladium Myrrh to send to his graveyard. This will end his turn. Adrian will untap, draw, and then drop a Cascade Bluffs. He'll first cast a Talisman of Creativity, and then he'll cast Animate Dead, targeting Chris's Necrotic Ooze. He will not pay the Remora tax both times.
No!
Oh no!
Wait.
Chris will respond with a Force of Will, exiling Glen Elendra Archmage from his hand and losing 1 life. The Force of Will resolves and the Animate Dead is countered. Adrian will then attack Chris with Nightscape Familiar, dealing 1 damage to him.
Fuck you!
I can't say I don't deserve it. But
Yep, that's all I got.
And then on Adrian's end step, Ajdin will crack his Arid Mesa, searching for a Blood Crypt. This will end Adrian's turn. On Ajdin's turn, he'll drop a Twilight Mire and then pass the turn. And then on Kyle's turn, he'll drop a Swamp and then pass the turn. Round 3, Chris will pay Mystic Remora's Cumulative Upkeep, draw a card, and then drop a Bojuka Bog, targeting Ajdin's graveyard. He'll then pass the turn. Adrian will untap, draw, and then cast Nicol Bolas the Ravager, losing 1 life to his Talisman. Everyone else discards a card, sending a Limdal's Vault, Swamp, and Dragon Skull Summit to the graveyard. He'll then attack Chris with Nightscape Familiar again, dealing 1 damage. On Adrian's end step, Ajdin will cast an Abrupt Decay, targeting Chris's Soul Ring. He will not pay the Remora tax. This will end Adrian's turn. On Ajdin's turn, he'll untap, draw, and then drop a Rootbound Crag, before casting Azusa Lost But Seeking. This will let him drop a Bloodstained Mire and then a Strip Mine. He'll then pass the turn. Kyle will drop a Mountain, and then cast Innocent Blood, not paying the Remora tax and dealing with the Nightscape Familiar and Azusa Lost But Seeking. He'll then pass the turn. Round 4, Chris will not pay the cumulative upkeep cost and send the Remora to the graveyard. He'll then drop a Watery Grave Shocked, losing 2 life, and then cast his commander, Lazav the Multifarious, surveilling 1 and pitching a Basalt Monolith to his graveyard. He'll then pass the turn. On Adrian's turn, he'll untap, draw, and then he'll attack Chris with Nicol Bolas, dealing 4 commander damage. He'll then drop an Ancient Tomb, and then attempt to flip Bolas, tapping out and losing 2 life to the Ancient Tomb. Ajdin will respond by cracking his Bloodstained Mire and searching for a mountain, losing 1 life, and then casting Red Elemental Blast, targeting Nicol Bolas the Ravager. This resolves, but Adrian will send his commander to the graveyard, and then he'll pass the turn. On Ajdin's turn, he'll untap, draw, and then attempt to strip mine Chris's Watery Grave. Chris will respond by casting Trick Bind, targeting Ajdin's strip mine and countering it.
And you can't respond to it.
I love you so much, Chris.
Why do you play that?
Ajdin will then follow up by casting Realms Uncharted, searching for a Vezuva, Bojuka Bog, Glacial Chasm, and Field of the Dead, and offering the choice to Chris. Chris will then throw Vezuva and Bojuka Bog to the graveyard and give Ajdin a Glacial Chasm and Field of the Dead.
Alright, so land drop for turn.
That's why you didn't pick me. I would have for sure given you Bojuka Bog.
Yeah, you should have picked him. He would have given you Bojuka Bog. What's wrong with you?
True.
That's bad magic.
Ajdin will drop his Glacial Chasm, sacrificing a mountain, and then he'll pass the turn. On Kyle's turn, he'll untap, draw, drop a Rogue's Passage, and then cast his commander, Queen Marchesa. He'll become the Monarch, and then Queen Marchesa will attack Chris, dealing 3 commander damage. He'll move to end step, drawing a card for being the Monarch, and then passing the turn. Round 5, Chris will untap, draw, and then tap out to activate Lazav, targeting Necrotic Ooze. This turns Lazav into a Lazav copy of Necrotic Ooze, which in turn gives him the activated abilities of both Palladium Myr and Pila Pala. Since the Myr can tap and add mana, and the Pala can untap to add mana, this effectively gives them infinite color mana. He'll use it to cast a Dimir Signet, as well as Jace Vryn's Prodigy, before passing the turn. On Adrian's turn, he'll untap, draw, drop a Marsh Flats, which he will crack and lose a life 2 to find a swamp, before casting Reanimate, targeting his Nicol Bolas the Ravager. Chris will respond by casting Swan Song, targeting the Reanimate. Adrian will then respond to that by casting Croesus's Charm, targeting Lazav to return it to Chris's hand. Chris will then respond with Arcane Denial, targeting Croesus's Charm. All of these spells resolve, and Adrian will get a bird token at the end. Adrian will pass the turn. On Ajdin's turn, he'll untap, not pay his Glacial Chasm's cumulative upkeep cost and sending it to the graveyard, and then he'll draw a card. He'll drop Field of the Dead and then cast Elvish Reclaimer before passing the turn. On Kyle's turn, he'll untap, draw, then drop a Swamp before casting Cryptghast. He'll send his Queen Marchesa at Chris again, dealing another 3 commander damage, and then at end of turn, he'll draw a card for being the Monarch. Round 6, Chris will untap, draw, then drop an island. He'll tap Jace Vryn's Prodigy to draw a card, discarding a Careful Study, and then flipping the Jace into Jace Telepath Unbound. He'll -2 his Planeswalker, targeting Buried Alive, giving it flashback before casting it. Adrian will respond to the Buried Alive by casting Insidious Will, losing 1 life to Talisman of Creativity and 2 life to Ancient Tomb, trying to counter it. Chris will respond with Counterspell, targeting Insidious Will. Chris will win the counter war, and Buried Alive will resolve, searching him a Divining Witch, Laboratory Maniac, and Arcanus the Omnipotent, sending them to the graveyard, which ends the game.
Okay, so here's how we win the game. So, Divining Witch is Demonic Consultation on a stick.
Okay.
The Necrotic Ooze is copying, since he has all activated abilities of all creatures in our graveyards, so we'll do that to represent. We will activate Divining Witch's ability, which is this guy. So we will be discarding a card. I'll discard Dramatic Reversal. We name a card. I'm going to name Borgrimos Enraged. It's not in my deck. So what happens is, I exile cards from my library until I hit the card, which means I exile my library, because I don't have the card.
It's gone.
So
You
my
got it.
library is gone.
That's demonic consultation, yeah.
And then I'll untap with Pilipala, since I still have infinite mana. I will attempt to draw 3 cards with Arcanus the Omnipotent's ability.
And then you have a lab
response-
ban.
In response, make a Lazav Laboratory Maniac to win the game.
Wow,
Nice.
you got it.
So, let's talk about it. Before we get into any of the decks, I do want to say that this is a really good example of what happens in a pod if the power level at play just wild variance between decks. On one hand, you have the Queen Marchesa deck. This is another Queen Marchesa list that I assume is on the lower end of the power level. It played very fairly, all things considered. And then we went to, Lord Windgrace, which lands deck is restricted to a certain amount of fairness. You can't get more unfair in Lord Windgrace. Nicol Bolas, can get some nonsense going on as well, but it's a Vorthos deck, all things considered. So far we have we went from minimum 4 to maximum 7, in power levels, maybe an 8 if Adrian is going to get insulted by that. And then we have Lazav. And you basically saw what happened. I don't want to comment on the Queen Marchesa deck because the Queen Marchesa deck did the same thing as last time, but less. And sometimes that's just the way it goes, man. No harm, no foul to Kyle, but pour one out for the Mardu boys. The Lord Windgrace deck also basically did what you expected. It was a little rusty, but the game's a little old. So if you want to comment down below, how dare Ajdin make the play that he did with the gifts and picking Chris, he already knows it. You don't need to give him shit. I'll give him shit. I give him shit all the time. And then there's the Adrian Nicol Bolas deck, which did the biggest fight it could against the Lazav deck. And quite frankly, the Lazav deck wasn't there. I'm pretty sure that Nicol Bolas deck would have ran away with the game. But no. Chris shows up. He goes, innocent turn 1, just land. Sorry, I'm wrong. It wasn't innocent turn 1 land. It was innocent turn 1 land Soul Ring, which is common for any EDH power level. But then turn 2, Remora, Buried Alive. Here's my infinite mana engine, and the game spirals from there. It just becomes a race of, can Adrian interact with Chris enough to stop the inevitable combo? And the answer was, I'm sorry, Chris has 5,000 counter spells, you dumb fuck. You thought you were gonna play Magic? And all things considered, it was hilarious. Yes, beat up on the Nicol Bolas deck. I want to see more of that. I want to see more wanky combos like that. I'm told it's a cEDH power level deck, which means you probably won't see it do that often on this channel. But I'm pretty happy that we got it on the channel. I'm pretty happy that we got it archived because it's a really unique combo, and I'd be really interested to see if you could try it out and spin it yourself sometime. With all of that said, if I had to pick an MVP, the best card for this match, I'm gonna pick Soul Ring. Or Mystic Remora. You could argue Mystic Remora potentially, but I'm gonna pick Soul Ring because if it wasn't for Soul Ring, that turn 2 would not have been as loud as it could have. Comment down below your thoughts and feelings. Be sure to hit the subscribe button. And